Yeah, it's mindset cafe, we all got that mindset. Gotta stay focused, never settle for less. It's all in your head, how you think you manifest. So get ready to rise, cause we about to be the best. Gotta switch it up, gotta break the old habits. Get your mind right, turn your dreams into habits. No negative vibes, only positive.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Mindset Cafe podcast. It's your boy, Devin, and we got a special guest, and I normally say that, but this is a special guest because this is a return guest. Him and Demi were on a previous episode, but today we got Jamey Kroesen. He is the owner of The Church out in St. Louis, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
St. Louis, and he actually just launched his own fight gear company as well, fight equipment company, and we're going to dive into some of that as well today. And I wanted to bring him on. One, we're going to talk about some fighter mentalities and some fighter mindsets, but also, we do the entrepreneurial mindset here as well, and he is a living, walking, breathing testament to what we're all about here. He is scaling his business and now into other businesses. So, Jamey, thanks for coming on today.
Dude, I'm happy to be here, man. Happy to be here, man. Stoked for it, man, for sure.
So let's dive in. I mean, it was, I want to say, almost even like probably close to a year since you guys came on.
Yeah.
Because it was after I had met Demi in person, and I know you were there, but we had, kind of seen each other in passing in Texas. But about a year since, you've came on the podcast. So what has happened in that last year? I know we were just chopping it up before, but what has happened in your entrepreneurial path in this last year?
Dude, it's been crazy, honestly. Like the last time we had talked, we were in like a townhouse, and now like we bought a house, we bought a house so like my mom and dad are a little bit older. They're like 90s, 80s, and so whenever me and her decided we were going to look for a house, we were like, looking at all these areas. My parents live in like kind of a nicer area, and we ended up finding a house, and it was like perfect house, and so now like we're in a house, like Demi has her own office, like where I'm at right now, like she's got her own office, and it's been great, man. Like honestly, it's been super sick. But as far as like on the business side of things, it's been amazing as well. Like we're looking at like a second building as of right now. So like I've hired like 3 different coaches on since like the last time we talked and stuff. And like as you've said, like just started like a actual fight gear company. So something that I knew I wanted to do. I know I had like the platform for it, and was kind of just like searching for the name, and had a dog that was very close to me. He'd been with me for about 15 years, and he ended up passing like in January. And it was tough, but it was one of those things that was like, that dog had been very loyal to me for like a pretty long time. So I was like, I told that dog on his death grave, I was like, I'm going to honor you somehow. And we were looking for like a name as far as like the fight gear company went. And then it was like, the timing was like perfect. It was just like destiny. Like I ended up naming this fight gear company after the dog. So it's super deep. It's super deep. I could talk about it all day, but it was right time, right place, man. And like I feel really good about it. If anything, it gives me like a lot of drive to really push this, and to believe in this, like outside of like the product that we're actually putting out. Like the fight gear in itself is like the best. It's probably the best actual equipment that I've ever used. And like I'm a stickler as far as like equipment goes. Like I have gloves that are $400, I have mitts that are $300, like very expensive equipment. I'm very, very picky with my equipment, to say the least. And this equipment is very affordable, and it's like as good as any equipment I've ever used, so like, but outside of that, like it's being able to like kind of honor my dog that passed, it's like, it's just, yeah, man, it's like I'm diving into this, 100%, for sure.
No, I mean, that's awesome. And man, again, I'm sorry for your loss. I have a dog as well, and they're a family member at the end of the day, so it's just like losing a family member. So that is tough. But I mean, the cool thing is that you are using this new company and honoring, your dog with it. And it almost can give you that extra drive or that extra motivation, because you're like, I can't dishonor him and not drive and not push and really, I told him I was going to give them this legacy and honor him this way. Like I can't, do him like that if I, just slack off. Right.
100%, bro. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's awesome, man. I mean, you already know, like we're both in the fitness space in different niches, but both of us are expanding and both of us are growing in that area. So it is so cool to like see and get to know someone that is on the same path, in a different avenue, but on the same path that I'm on, because not many people do what we do, right?
It's a person for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that was the cool thing. I was talking to you, before this episode started. There's a lot of entrepreneurs, quote unquote entrepreneurs, that are, solopreneurs that don't have a team yet and all those things. And there's no, knocking that down whatsoever. But it gets less and less when you start to meet someone that has actually established a business, a team, and, at a location, let alone scaling it to now you're looking for a second location, a second building. And now you're also launching this whole product line that honestly, I think it's super cool, being from the fight background myself. That's always one of those really cool things. It almost makes you proud, because like when you walk into your gym, I'm assuming you're proud, right? It's like that's your logo, that's everything. But when you see someone that you don't even know, let's say in a year, and all of a sudden they're wearing your gear, you're like, oh shit, that's mine. That's crazy.
Yep, 100%, man. And like St. Louis is like, it's super cool because like St. Louis is like very small. It's very like close knit, So like me and Demi we'll go and we'll fucking like eat at some like little restaurant in St. Louis. We're always trying new shit. And like we'll eat at some restaurant and like we'll order our food, and then we'll go to pay and shit, and like the person will be like, yo, bro, you own the church, like it's on the house, and I'm just like I'm like, what the fuck is happening right now? I'm like, I'm not that tight, but it's cool to be recognized in like within my own city, like as like somebody that's like helping people, and it's like, maybe like this owner doesn't know me, but like maybe I changed, an employee under them's life, or something like that, and it's like, that's like how that's why I started this whole thing, it was like really just to like help people, really just experience like happiness, because for me, there was like nothing that made me happier than being able to like see my body change and feel like the mental difference in like training, like that was just the only way I knew how to be happy, was like training, and just seeing like the progress, so like seeing that impact so many other people within the city, and then being recognized for it is like, it really like reminds me why I'm here, like it's one of those things, like it's like, sometimes the days are hard, but like having something like that happen is like, it just gives me that like reassurance of like, okay, like I'm here for a reason. Like I'm doing this for a reason. This isn't just like to pay my bills kind of thing, like I'm doing this outside of that,
No, definitely. And so I want to dive into a couple of mindsets like that you're dealing with as well. Like, when we had you on last time, it was about, the mindset between you both, and you launching the business and being in a relationship with an entrepreneur and all that kind of stuff. But today I want to dive into like you being at a spot where you are growing a team, right? You just added 3 new people to your team. You're looking for a second location, and in that you're going to have a whole new team. Whether it's doubling your staff or nearly doubling your staff. How is that entrepreneurial mindset of, because the church is your baby, right? That's your creation. So how is your like involvement of your mindset of letting go and really focusing on like the leadership of developing your team been?
So I think it really comes down to like just believing in the people that you put time into, So like for me, I invest a lot of time into like a certain people within the church, and it's like people that I see a little bit of myself in, and it's one of those things like at the end of the day, everything is trust, everything is trust. It comes down to trust. Like I trust you enough to be able to go and take a huge loan out and to take this big, this big endeavor, because I may not be able to be there all the time, but I feel like I know you enough to know that I believe in you being able to hold it down for me while I'm not there. Because especially like starting like a whole entire, fight gear, a whole nother company rather, I'm not going to be able to be there all the time. It's going to be one of those things like I'm going to have to really trust people to hold it down for me, So like you can't just put anybody in that spot, It's not one of those things where I can just be like, hey, like I feel like you're gonna be good at this job. Like I'm just gonna throw you in there. Like I have to really know you. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm putting my my reputation on the line, but also like I'm putting my whole entire life on the line doing this. Like this could very well bury me, you know? So like you have to, at the end of the day, you have to really trust the people that you're putting in there, you know? So for me, like me being able to invest enough time and enough energy in these people to know, okay, like it's not just on the clock shit. It's like me spending time with you outside of the business, you know? Like I need to know like who you are as a person. You know, I need to spend enough time with you to know like, okay, if certain things were to happen within the business, like how are you going to react? Are you going to react in a way that I would expect you to, or is it going to be something where like you take it on like in like a more selfish level, you know? So like, yeah, I think at the end of the day, man, it just comes down to like being able to trust the people that you are putting in those positions, you know? So for me, like I like to like really try to like spend time with these people, and I try to get to know these people on a personal level, but also on a business level as well, you know? And yeah, so like I feel very confident in taking these steps just because these people that I'm putting in these roles are people that I really trust, you know? Like
Yeah.
absolutely 100%, yeah.
And I think the important thing that you said there too, and I mean, this is like we operate very similar in that sense. I think one of the important things that you do is that you say that you have to trust the person, but it's not that all of a sudden you just trust them. Like you're trusting them because you're putting the time into them. You're giving them dedicated time to teach them how to do the things, and their evolvement of, you know, knowing a skill or knowing how to run a business or knowing how to do a certain task, right, or teach a class, like that is what has built the trust, because again, you're teaching them. So many business owners think that you become a business owner just by hiring a team, and some people will hire people that, you know, let's say have more knowledge in a certain area than other areas, and then just expect them to fix their business. And it's like, no, you still have to at least teach them like what you want to do, how the business is supposed to go. Like you can't just let it run by itself out the gate, right? I mean, and I think like that's awesome that you do that, because I mean, even for me, I mean, with the launch of the franchise and everything like that, like I'm not really at my gym as much, and you know the members ask, you know, where I'm at, and my business partner's always like, believe me, like the boy is working, you know, but it's in a different sense. And you know, having the trust in my business partner, but also the managers that we put in place, and you know the team that we have and everyone that we hire. I mean, when I hire someone, even just as a base level trainer, like best believe I check your Instagram, I check your social media, like before even giving you an interview. Like if I can't find anything, I ask people for their Instagram before their second interview.
Yeah,
and if you don't,
I think like especially like an environment like you know that requires like physical fitness, you know, it's like you're already in a position where like you're going to be very uncomfortable, right? So like being uncomfortable with somebody who you don't feel comfortable with is like the worst fucking thing ever, you know? And I feel like that's like where a lot of these like commercial gyms like just don't really get it right, you know? Like they're just like super quick to like hire some random guy off the, you know, and like some random dude, you know? And it's like you got to make sure you're putting people in those roles who are able to really make people embrace being uncomfortable, because like that's where you're going to get the real benefits in that situation, in that area, you know? Like for me, I try to make people embrace being uncomfortable, because it's like if you're not able to do that, like you're not going to really get the best out of the workout. Like I need you to be okay with like if you got to go to the bathroom and you got to go throw up, I'm gonna like clap you on as you're doing that, you know, because like it takes you pushing yourself to a certain level to be able to achieve that, you know.
right,
The only thing I expect from you is to come back out and keep working, you know.
right,
And then like we finish that workout, and it's one of those things that's like, you know, like you should feel good about that, you know. And it's like a lot of people aren't able to capture that, you know what I'm saying? Like they're not able to like take people and put them in an uncomfortable environment and make them embrace it, you know. It's like you got to be able to have somebody that's going to put you in that situation and make you really, really, really appreciate being uncomfortable, you know, because like when you're with somebody who can do that for you, especially in this type of environment that we do, like that's where you're going to achieve the most, you know. Like it's if you're with somebody who's going to let you quit when you want to quit, you are in the wrong gym, you know. I mean,
Yep.
you are in the wrong gym, because it's not about you, it's not on your time. Like you're doing what I have laid out for you, and it's like it's one of those things where it's like I don't care how you feel, we're gonna get through this. And like if
Yep.
you can't pull it together on your own, I'm gonna make sure that that we get through this together, and it's like, and it becomes like a thing where you can bond with your trainer, because
Yep.
like you get 20 minutes into a workout and you're like, how the hell am I going to finish this workout? And then if you're with the right person, they're going to get you through it. And then you get through it and then you share this moment together, and it's like,
So
yeah.
I mean, it's crazy now that I think of it, because it's just something that we do that everyone's kind of shocked that we do this. But so before you hire someone, do you make them work out with you? Yep. So, okay. So we do the same thing.
Jim, you're not even like yeah, there's not even like you can't even, that's not even like a thing. Yeah, for sure.
Because like, I mean, there's like some coaches or some business owners will, bring a coach in and have them explain, especially like, let's say in the fight industry, right? They'll be like, okay, well, what would you do for this kind of client? And, these kind of mitt drills and so forth. But, it's like in theory, all sounds well, but like, let me see you do it in person, right? And let's see what you got. Let me see your punches. Let me see your technique, right? For us, like, we do the second interview is an in-person interview, and they actually have to do the Strive workout before. And then so we have them do it. And our explanation is like, look, if you're going to train the members, you need to know what they're going through. And it's not just pushing them and pushing them, like, you need to be able to do it as well. And I don't care if you throw up or whatever, but just know what you're putting someone through. So we make them do the whole workout, and we've had people throw up. We've had people, I had one person like kind of freeze up and it's like, dude, like, what? Like, you're 6 minutes into the workout. Like, what are you, like,
and that's exactly right. Like, yeah, like just like you said, man, like sometimes it happens very quickly. And I think a lot of times, like, we'll get people in, you and me both, we'll get people in there like that have never done this before. So I feel like there's a lot of nerves that go into that first workout, especially. And I always remind people before we even start, I'm like, listen, the first workout is always going to be the worst one ever because you don't know what to expect. You're very new to this. Your nerves are high. I was like, just embrace it. Just embrace it, man. Like, whatever happens, whatever feelings you feel today, just embrace it. And just know that you'll be better after the workout than you were before.
100%.
Yeah.
And I mean, you have a lot of fighters. I mean, from what I see on social media, because you have not just the gym, but you guys actually go to fights, and we talked about it a little last time.
Yeah.
But dealing with fighters that are fighting amateurly and professionally and stuff like that, like, that's a whole nother ball game than just like Mary Jane from down the road, that wants to get a good workout in, right? So what is that like for you dealing with? Well, I guess two parts. What is that like for you dealing with a fighter that at the professional or amateur level? Yeah. And then what is that for you training a coach to train essentially a fighter at both those levels, right? Because what I've noticed for me is like, what is common knowledge for me is not common knowledge to everyone, right? And I learned that once I stepped away. But it's like, now that we have trainers and managers in place, like, I don't have to just teach them how to do something. I got to teach them how to teach someone how to do something. Totally. Right. So how's that for you?
Well, dude, honestly, like, it's crazy because like a lot of the time, like, for me, the fighters that are trained like on the amateur level as well as like the professional level, is like, some of these guys are like the most emotional dudes I've ever met in my entire life. I mean, really genuinely, like, these guys are, and I mean, it takes a certain person to get in there. So respect to everybody, that does it, but some of these guys are very, very much divas, like these guys are like, they are just like, like super emotional people. I mean, people that will sit there and cry to you, but I think it ties into like, these people that are super emotional, having a reason to go out there and do it, and it's like, it takes a certain person to want to go and step in a cage and fight another man in a cage, for little to no money. The professionals make a little bit more money, but for the amateurs, it's like, you got to have like a real, like, you got to really have something, that's taking at you, like some type of trauma that you've been through in your life to make you want to go out there and do that, Yeah. It's not for everybody. And I mean, it's especially the way that we train in the church. It's like, I don't train people to go out there and kickbox people or box people or grapple people. Like, I train people to go out there and fight people. Like, and that's kind of the reputation we have. Like, we're not like a kickboxing gym. Like, we're a fighting gym. Like, we don't, and we've exposed a lot of high level gyms, in that aspect of being like, okay, like you may have like 10 years of training on this guy that you're fighting that's in my gym, right? But like, you don't know how we do it here. Like, I
Yeah.
train these guys for death, like
Yeah.
guys, these guys in this gym here, man, like they're going to very, very dark places, and yeah, man, like it's just like some people are out there looking to kickbox, and we're not. We're out there to fight people, like we're out there to really do damage, and it's like a lot of these guys, like I won't even put you in there unless like I feel like you're genuinely willing to die in that ring, and like luckily, thank God that's never happened yet, but like that's how we train, like we train for the real shit, like it's like this to me, this is modern day war, like this is modern day gladiator shit, so it's like if I'm gonna put you in there, like I better know that you're ready and you're prepared for it, because like most of these people aren't. Like a lot of these people out here, they want to fight and they want to be able to tell their friends that they're fighters and that they compete and that they're kickboxers and this and that. It's like that's not what we're about. Like I'm training guys that have trauma. I'm training people that have been through shit. We're a South City gym, so like a lot of the people I train, like they're from dark past, and they're all great human beings. But it's a bunch of people that have been through some pretty crazy shit that needed something, and then they found me, and I was able to make that something that could be positive,
Yeah.
And, yeah, and like I know I got ADD and ADHD, so I know I'm going off right now. But
Hey man, you and I both, so you're good.
but like yeah, like it's real for sure, man. Like the way I train people is just a little bit different. Like both of my coaches that I had that I fought under, like they were very very hard on me, and they had both trained. Like my Muay Thai coach had trained like all over the world. He trained in Thailand and Cambodia. He had won like multiple world titles and stuff, and he was very, very, very hard on me, And so like the only way that I know how to do it is kind of like that. Like I need to see what you're made of, and like in my mind, like my goal, my objective is to try to break you and make sure that you don't, right? Like so, like the whole time I'm training you, I'm trying to break you. I'm trying to make you leave. I'm trying to make you quit, but I won't let you.
Yep.
So that's where I get to really weed out the weak in that sense. If you come to me and you're like, hey, look, I don't want to fight. I just want to lose some weight. I just want to learn how to kickbox, this, that, whatever. It's a completely different thing. But if you come to me and you're like, hey, like, I want to fight under your gym. I want to compete under your banner. Like, I'm trying to take this to the next level. I think I would do good in like a fighting element, For me, it's like, all right, we'll see,
Yeah.
I'm like, we'll see. Because like you're gonna make it or you're not, and all the people that have made it under my banner, they do very well, like I train some of the top guys in the whole region, some of the top guys in the whole entire country, and like the way that I do it is like it's like survival of the fittest, it's like if you make it, it's like Navy SEAL shit,
Yeah.
I'm gonna push you to your fucking limit where you break, and then you're gonna break, and I'm not gonna let you break. And then we're going to keep going, And if you keep going with me, if you make it to that finish line with me, we're going to do some shit,
Yep.
And yeah, man. So like it's and then like as far as like going into like how I train my trainers and stuff, it's very similar. Like all the people that coach under me are people that have fought under me. I don't have one person that coaches under me that has not fought under me, that has not gone through that process. So it's like all the people that train under me, like they're people that have spent a lot of time with me. And there are people that have gone through these scenarios with me time and time again. There are people that have 5 to 10 fights under me, each person, So like, yeah, man, like it's, I got to believe in that. I got to know that we are on the same page. Every gym does it a little bit differently. Like if you were to talk to the next guy that runs a gym way over here, he may not do it like I do, but I do it like this for a reason, man, because it works, and like we're going into 2024, we're about 9 months in almost, and I mean we have probably the best record of any gym in all of St. Louis. I mean we're like 17, 18, and 4 with like 14 knockouts, 14 finishes.
Damn.
And these are against top guys, man. These are against top guys, And I just had a guy that had just got signed by the UFC, who I had trained, and he moved to Minnesota, and he was training up there, but he just got signed by the UFC like a couple of days ago. And I mean, I was coaching him, I was cornering him and stuff, and he ended up moving gyms, just to kind of like, benefit his progression into the UFC and stuff. And it was a great move because he got, getting signed and stuff, but yeah, man, it's been a wild journey, man, but everybody does it a little bit differently, as far as me, like I do it this way because it works for me, and like, a lot of people look at it from like a like more like tactical, like, strategic, like kickboxing, like skill set type of thing, and for me it's like that has to be there. You have to have the skill set to be able to go and compete in any level, but it's like for a lot of people I feel like they don't understand that, that like, that differential between like, competing and fighting somebody,
Yeah.
like if you have that understanding of like fighting somebody, it's completely different, man. Like it's completely different, bro. And that's why you'll see guys, like Deontay Wilder, who have competed at the highest level in boxing, and I mean that guy was a fighter. Mike Tyson, same thing. He's a fighter,
Yeah.
like
I,
you got it.
no. So I mean, I think one of the important things that you're doing though too, and I know this because I mean, coming from a fighting background and stuff, and like when I was fighting, I mean, obviously I was a little younger, and I never wanted to do it. Like it was for me, it was like a hobby, but it was more of like I was a coach and all those kind of things. But I still competed because it was just what you do, But like I never had that drive that I wanted. It was like I'm going to be a pro and stuff. But at the same time, if I was going into a ring, like it was one of those things where like I'm going into there, like, and it is like we can shake hands after, but we're going for like I'm going for blood, right? And you have to have that, and it is a mindset. But some people are receptive to that mindset, and some people just can't understand to let out that dog essentially, that they have within them.
A million, bro. Yeah.
And like I mean, I was training a professional boxer, she was a world champ and everything like that. And she had other strength and conditioning coaches and stuff. This was before I launched my gym. And one of the things that we ended up connecting when I trained her for a couple of years, was the fact that she liked that I actually fought, that I actually competed. So when we were cutting weight and we were doing all these things, she knew it wasn't just me talking about textbook theory and all this stuff. And I was like, look, I know this fucking sucks. Like, I've been there. I get it. But fucking put your big girl pants on and let's fucking go. Right? And so it's like that. I think that's huge that your trainers, your coaches, like have actually fought, or have even fought under you, so that it's not one of those things where they've been doing Muay Thai, they've been doing kickboxing or MMA for a decade, but never fought. It's like, okay, cool. You don't know what it is like. Stepping in the ring is different than to sparring and stepping on the mat, right? The adrenaline's different. The adrenaline dumps all of a sudden are a real thing. Like it's a completely different thing.
1,000,000%, bro. And like like I don't have a single coach under me that hasn't fought under me, So like for me, that's like the biggest test for me is like to be able to coach you in like an actual like a realistic scenario, like a fight, like kickboxing, MMA, like whatever it is, And so like dude, that's like I think that's like the biggest test, in reality is like to see how you respond in an actual live scenario, because it's easy to hit a fucking bag. It's easy to hit pads, but it's like, just like you said before, like the adrenaline dump, like it's like, how are you going to respond to that? Like, is everything I taught you, is that going to kick in whenever that adrenaline dump happens, because we train a lot for that adrenaline dump. I have a guy that I pay weekly, to work with the fighters. He's a breath coach. He's got five Guinness World Records. The dude is fucking incredible. Incredible. I mean, he's so good, and he works with everybody that competes, and he does like specific breath work with these guys, and like he teaches them how to how to find their gears, and he teaches them how to recover between rounds, and he just teaches them how to bring their nervous system back down, and like all these different things. The guy is so fucking legit, man. It's unbelievable, dude. And like he's been with me for probably the better of 50 or 60 fights now, And I couldn't imagine not having this guy, in my corner, because like we go into these fights and people are like, how are you guys so calm? before these fights, because like we, we go in these fights and people see us and we're just like fucking stone cold, it's like literally, it's like we are dead calm,
Yeah.
and people are like, how are you guys so calm before these fights? And I was like, well, I got a guy that, I got a guy for that, like I got a guy that puts them in that state,
And people underestimate that though, for sure though, because I've done the breathwork stuff. I did it, actually like last year we had a guy come out to one of our mastermind things and do a bunch of breath work. And then we were going to do this cold plunge in a Montana river, that a stream. That shit was cold as hell because it was moving water, not even like still water, but it was already cold outside. That shit it sucked. But then he was like, just do the breath work. And then he like kept coaching. I was like, yeah, man, the breath work works, but it's still cold, bro. Like,
dude, it's wild, bro. So I changed, dude. Shout out Josh Hildenbrand. Actually, he actually like he runs a business called like Breath and Exposure, right? And it's still water, but this is 32-degree water.
Yeah.
This is like the coldest water you can get before the whole entire shit's frozen. And I mean, you have to fucking break the fucking ice to get in this shit. And but the dude he's fucking amazing, man. He'll it's in South City, like probably about 10 minutes from my gym. And yeah, you go and meet this guy, and he does like these classes and stuff. I think it's like 8 people max classes, and the dude is amazing, man. You go in there and he runs you through this 30-minute breathwork course, right? And you don't even realize when you're doing this shit, it's crazy. You don't even realize that like he's prepping you to deal with the cold water,
Yep.
And the whole time you're like going through these breathwork exercises, I actually took Demi, she's cooking dinner right now, but she actually, I took her to one of these breath and exposure, like workouts, and she was terrified to go, dude, terrified to go. And she ended up loving it, because like these breath workouts, you do 30 minutes of breath workouts that are like completely translate into like when you're in that cold water, and he'll put you in there, dude, like neck deep, bro. And you'll be in this 32-degree water, bro. It's like more ice than water,
Yep.
And you just have to resort to all these breath exercises that you just did, but it's like you don't even realize, like there was a time like I had gone into it and I caught myself doing this breath exercise and I was like, oh my God, that was like naturally I started doing this breath exercise that was exactly what he just taught us,
Mm-hmm.
And it was crazy, bro. It was like you don't realize it, like you're in these like scenarios, and like I mean, cold water is like just like the quickest way to put you into like a high panic fight or flight situation, and it's the safest way to do it realistically, because like, you experience that in like a fight, like
right.
Realistically, you go into a cage and that bell rings, and the first time you make any type of like engagement with your opponent, you're dealing with that. It's just in a different scenario. It's in a different physical element, So like being able to get in that cold water and face that cold water, it's the same fucking thing. It's the same exact thing. And like it takes you doing that repetitively, right? And then it takes you going and fighting multiple times to be able to find that connection. But once you do, you realize like, damn, there's other ways that I can actually test myself without taking like severe damage, like
right.
I tell all my fighters, I'm like, look guys, like there's ways that you can go in here and you can simulate this fight without actually taking damage, because like we
Right.
want to stay fresh. Like you can't you can't condition your fucking brain, like you're getting hit in the head. Like you can't condition your brain, but there are ways that you can go in there and you can condition your mind
Right.
that are play into that scenario of you having to be in a fight, like at the end of the day, everything's mental, everything is mental, and like the physical body has to keep up with the mental for sure, but like I'd say about 80 to 90% of it is mental. So if you can find those things that like help you test yourself in a more of a mental way, it's like, you're only going to grow,
And I think definitely people underestimate how much breath work can do. Because again, when we were in Montana, like we did this other breathwork thing. I forget what it's called right now, but leading up to it, everyone there pretty much had done it once already. Like I hadn't been a part of the mastermind until then, but there were basically saying like you need to spread out like arms distance, even though our arms are starting by our side. And I was like, we're laying down. I don't understand why do we need to be so far apart, right?
Yeah.
And then people leading up to it, they're like, yeah, you're gonna get like in your deep emotions and people cry and stuff. And I was like, man, this is bullshit. Like whatever, And then so then the lady was like, if you feel like you can't get up, you can't move, it's okay, that's normal. And I was like, dude, this sounds stupid, right? And then I was like, but I'll play along, whatever. Like I'm game for anything. So you start off laying down, hands or palms up, and you're basically laying just like a little statue. And she starts coaching you through this breath work. And then all of a sudden, I remember at one point, like I felt my arms moving. I thought something was on my arm, but apparently it was my arms moving up like to my sides. And I could feel my hands locking, almost like I was like this, and I was like, and I couldn't open my fingers. So then I went to like sit up, and I was like, oh shit. Like I was like, we're about to go through some shit right now. I was like, oh damn, like they weren't lying. And I was like, then I was like kind of worried a little bit. I was like, oh man, like breath work can really take over your body. But unless you go through it, unless you try some breathwork classes and try some of those things, like you'll never really understand what it means. I mean, I'm in the fitness space, in the health space and stuff. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I know breathwork works, but to this degree, I was even shocked. Right. And it's one of those things where it can simulate stuff like a fight. It can help relieve, deeper unsettling issues, right? And Jay Shetty wrote a book called Think Like a Monk, and there's a whole chapter in breathwork. And I remember like listening to it the first time and reading it the first time, and I was like, damn, like there's all these different techniques for doing these different things. I was like, okay, whatever. And I didn't think anything of it until I started doing it, and then I was like, oh damn, this is crazy.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, you have to do it to like really understand how like valuable it is, And I remember like even like the first time I had like the dude, the Josh Hildebrand dude I'll tell you about, like me and Demi, we had gone and done this breathwork with this dude, and he, like I said, he does this whole entire breathwork exercise to like prep you for this cold water. And he explains it like, he's like, when you're done, when you finish with this breath exercise, he's like, the last thing he does, he has you like do this like breath hold, which is crazy. And like it's after all these other breath exercises, right? And he tells you straight up, he's like, look, if you really push yourself in this breath exercise, right? Like he's like, right when you're done, you're gonna feel like you are almost like tripping, right? He's like, you're gonna feel like you're almost like kind of an outer body experience, And I was like, I remember when he told me that, I was like, yeah. What? Like that's like that doesn't really make sense. And then I did it, dude. And like I pushed myself as hard as I could in this breath exercise. Like I ended up holding my breath for he did this whole breath workout prior, but I ended up holding my breath for like over 3 minutes, which is crazy because I never knew I could hold my breath that long. Ever. Right? Like I never knew I could hold my breath that long. And it was like over 3 minutes. And then the second that I was done, I remember like he's like, open your eyes when you're done, And I was like, I actually finished last of like my whole group, which was I was pretty stoked on that too. I was like, hell yeah, look, So I finished and I opened my eyes after I was done, like the first air that I breathed in after like this whole like breath hold, and I remember like looking at the floor, dude, and everything was like fucking moving, dude. It was, I swear to God, dude, I'm not even kidding. It was this, and I'm completely sober. And I'm like, the whole floor is like going in and out, and I feel crazy. And I'm like, dude, this breath work is crazy. Like this is next level. Like these people that talk about breath work, how they get like it can take them like and take them like out of the planet and shit, like meditation and stuff. Like all meditation is like breath work, really. Like, if you think about it, like these people that are able to like meditate and take themselves like to another plane, it's like, it's just breath work, like realistically, it's just breath work, and so it's cool to see it getting the spotlight that it deserves, but it's like, it's definitely very new. And I feel like even people that I explain it to nowadays, I'm like, I'll try to explain it to them and they're kind of like, and I was like, I understand because I was there at one point. I know what you're thinking because like I was that guy at some point, I was that guy at one point, but like it really takes you like diving into it and like and just really like putting everything into it and like really pushing yourself. Like you got to treat the breath work like how you would like a competitive like environment. Like if I was going to go step into a cage with somebody and fight somebody, I'm going to leave every bit of myself in that cage, right? I'm going to do the same with this breath work. And if I don't, I'm not really going to understand it. You have to be able to like, leave, you have to be able to put the ego aside, like all that shit, and just leave every bit of yourself into that breath work, you know?
Yep.
And being able to do that, I feel like it really helped me connect with like what it's for and the reason behind it, and just, you know, everything. Yeah, man, it was. Anybody that's watching this that hasn't done breathwork, man, I challenge you guys to go do that shit and like.
Oh, no, 100%. Yeah. I mean, it's like you said, you know, you have to have that sense of humility of being willing to do it, right? And it's just like anything, whether it's entrepreneurship, your fitness, you know, whatever. Like, if you're worried about what people are thinking about you while you're doing it, it's like, dude, like you're not going to experience it. And if you're not willing to give 100% to everything that you're doing, then what's the point of doing it at all? Right? You're wasting your time. Right. Yeah. So I want to transition a little bit into, you know, your new venture and everything. Right. Yeah. So how did that come along? Right. You own a gym, you're expanding the gym, but now you have a whole fight line that, you know, and fight equipment that's coming out. How did that start?
Dude, so it's actually I'm really actually stoked to chime in on this topic. But so I started training with this dude, right? I hired him as a coach, and his name is Bam, and he started like a fight gear company that ended up like taking off and doing very, very well. And it's like, you know, I don't know if you heard of HKA, but like HKA is like a very big company, worldwide company. I mean, like multiple like high level UFC fighters, guys that are in the top 5. I mean, they're sponsored by HKA,
right?
And he ended up kind of like diverting and like doing his own thing, and so he diverted. He started his own company. It did very, very well, and then he had his own reasons to kind of like dissolve the company. And I ended up getting cool with this dude, and you know, he was was coaching under me. And he was like, yo, dude, like I got this, you know, manufacturer, and you know, like they're like, I can get these gloves like pretty cheap, you know, like all this gear, period, just gear. And he's like, I can get this stuff pretty cheap. He's like, you want do you want a pair of gloves or something? And I was like, yeah, like I'll check it out, you know. I've had a lot of people do this, you know, so like I'm not like new to this. I'm like, oh yeah, like I'll check it out, you know. In my mind, I'm kind of like, you know, like yeah. Just like kind of like the same old equipment, you know, that I'm used to trying out. And then he gets his equipment in, and he's like, yo, check this shit out, you know. And like he had like a couple different pairs of gloves and shit like that, you know. And I was like, put it on. I'm like, dude, this is like really fucking good equipment. I'm like, dude, I have like I'm so picky. Like I'm such a stickler with gloves, just equipment in general, you know. Like I have pairs of mitts that are $300+. I have pairs of gloves that are $400+. You know, I'm very picky with my equipment, and I'm like, this equipment is so fucking good, dude. And then I was like, you know what? I asked him, I was like, if I wanted to like start like a fight gear company, like I was like, would you be down to like kind of help me, like show me the road, you know? Because like I know this dude had like a ton of experience, you know, with like doing that because he had done it before. And he was like, dude, he was like, absolutely. He was like, I'll show you everything I know, you know? And I was like, all right, bet. I already got the platform. I was like, all right, bet, you know? And so we dived in. And then it was like, we were making like custom gear for like the church. So everything was like custom. It was custom made, and it would be like, we would do like a certain amount of orders, pre-sale orders. And it would be like, the gloves, like the quality with like the church logo, right? So like we didn't have a name, we didn't know what we were gonna call it, the business yet, you know. We were like, we fucking don't know, like we'll just do like church gear because I know I have a church, you know. So like, and we started selling this shit, and everybody was like, dude, this gear is so good, you know. And we were like, all right, like bet, you know. And then like my you know, like I said, my dog had passed, and I was looking for a name at the time, and it just kind of hit me. I was like, dude, like Flex Fight Gear. I was like, that's my dog that just passed. Like I promised this dog that I was gonna honor him, you know. And I was like, Flex Fight Gear. Like I think that's it. That's it. You know, like no doubt. And then I ended up getting like this memorial tattoo of my dog, and like my buddy that I trained, who's a tattoo artist in St. Louis, he did like this super sick F like on this pendant that was like on like a spiked collar for like the tattoo on my stomach, and I was like, we ended up getting a branding guy that was going to do our branding identity, and I sent him that picture. I was like, bro, like, I think we should do this, like this emblem right here. It's already tattooed on me. I was like, it's got the F, it's fucking sick. I was like, and then we just ran with it, bro. And then like, now we're like, yeah, we're like two orders in, like, sold out the same day, on both orders, bro. And it's been crazy, bro. Like we just like signed a deal with this promotion in Texas, like Houston, Texas. We're gonna be like their main sponsor for like their gloves and like just like everything, So like, gonna go down there in November and stuff and talk some business with those guys, But like, yeah, dude, I'm pretty excited, man. Like I'm really looking to take this and just like blow it up and make it like a global thing, Like the dude that I'm doing it with, he's done this before already, and he turned a business and into like a global business. Like, I mean, HK is everywhere, So like, yeah, so it's cool to have like him, like kind of guiding me through the whole entire thing, But like, I feel like sales has always been like, I've never really done anything but sales, So yeah, man, it's exciting, bro. It's like definitely like a new venture, Like it's something to get me excited and get me just motivated, like knowing that I'm doing it for, this dog that I had so much love for, and like he was there for me like the last 15 years, So like, I'm like, all right, like that's just that much more motivation, like more fuel to the fire, And yeah, but yeah, man, I'm stoked, man. Like I feel like it's St. Louis needed it, I feel like there's nothing local that is giving like the quality that we're going to be able to give to like the community and stuff, and it's like, it's affordable. I mean, we could probably charge $50 more per item on everything we're doing right now. But it's not even about the money, it's not even about the money. Like, it's just more or less to be able to give good quality to the community, so.
Well, that, and when you're able to provide quality and your value supersedes like the competitors that are a higher ticket, item, like it doesn't necessarily, it's not like you don't have $300 gloves just to have $300 gloves. It's the brand behind it, right? So if your gloves are $200 versus $300, like you're not going to buy the $300 just because you're like, oh, they must be better, right? Exactly. When you're a fighter, especially, like, what brands feel good, what equipment feels good, and protects you and all those things. So I think you're definitely doing that smart, right? It's one of those things where, especially in the beginning stages, like trying to get it out there is huge. And then, raising your per unit costs and all that kind of stuff, like gradually, if needed, is can always happen. But I think the cool thing for you that I'm sure you're probably starting to see it now, is that being a business owner, and I mean, I'd started experiencing this as well, is like being a business owner, especially a gym owner, right? And dealing with people on a personal level, like the sales, the money, all that kind of stuff is something that you deal with. But when you're now in this aspect where there's a whole different tracking system that you're focusing on, different kind of KPIs and all these other business technical terms that you necessarily maybe weren't really focusing on in the gym, it's like it's a whole nother avenue of business, and now it's having to develop your mindset in business in a whole new scale, which is only going to end up helping your gym.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So I think that's super huge. And I think, like we were talking about before this, that since you did brand it after your dog and stuff, like, and you're doing it in honor of him, that you can't, half-ass it, right? It's one of those things that you have to go all in.
Dude, I'm like, yeah. And that's the thing, dude, is like, eventually, like, the goal is to be able to, like, do more from home, Demi would be the first to tell you, like, I'm barely ever here, I'm home, like, maybe like 2 hours a night, like outside of sleep, but like,
right.
Yeah. So like, eventually I would like to move into a role of being like kind of behind the scenes, having people like run the church, running the locations, and like, maybe every once in a while, like having to travel to do like some connecting, like networking with like the, the equipment brand, And but yeah, I would like to be able to do more work from home, be a little bit more present, here at the house, but right now it's like, yeah, it's 14-hour days every day, almost, so it's like, yeah, I'm very little present, but like it's for the right reasons, it's an investment, so like it's like I'm young, so it's like I'm gonna work really hard now so I can enjoy life a little bit later, I don't want to be working when I'm 60 years old, so like, yeah, trying
I mean,
to.
I guarantee like the kind of personality that you have, you'll still be working at 60, but it's not in the same, like working when people are like, oh, you get to retire in your 60s. It's like, yeah, but if you're not doing something that you love, then, you're just waiting for retirement. But if you're at a stage where you're running everything from the back end and your work is an hour of your day,
Totally.
then you're not working technically, right? So I think that you're going to be at a spot like that where at 60, 65, 70, like, that you're not fully retired, but also
Right.
you're not fully doing anything either. You have people that
Exactly.
do all that stuff, right?
Exactly, dude. Yeah, and it's like my parents. My parents are like perfect examples for that. Like my dad's 91, right? So like my dad's 91, and he's been like the best role model to me like ever. Like he played for like the Cleveland Browns, like 40, 50 years ago, and like he played for the Cleveland Browns. Him and my mom were like dancers. They did like Adagio ballet. They won the world title in '76 in Tokyo, Japan. Like they performed it for like the Emperor of Japan in '76 and won the world title and stuff. So like they've always been like very like ambitious, and very much like chasing dreams. And like their whole life story is just like it's you wouldn't believe it if they didn't have like a whole fucking file cabinet full of shit. Ass like realistically, I'm not even kidding. Like their story is so unrealistically believable, and it's like, and it's cool that they've documented everything. Like they've got pictures, they've got newspapers, they've got all this shit. It's so cool because it's like when I tell people this, I'm like, people don't believe me, and I'm like here's a fucking picture of like a fucking newspaper, like my parents, and it's cool. Like Demi's like she's seen it all, she's seen it all. But like my dad and my mom, they're fucking like my mom's almost 80, my dad's like 91, and they work, dude. They work every day. Every day they work, and like that they'll work until they're not here. Like
Yeah.
they can't physically stop, like and like, I mean, maybe they don't work fucking, 80 hours a week and shit, but like they're, you can't take that out of somebody, you really can't take that out of somebody. Like whenever somebody has that, like, I'm here for a purpose, mentality, like you're not going to be able to ever like actually retire somebody. Like they're always going to have something, and it's like if I was an IT guy for 40 years and that was my drive, was to like always, like my drive was to work, and my drive was to be active and keep moving forward. And I retired from IT. I'm gonna find something else until that day that I'm not here, regardless of what it is, and like they're those type of people. We're those type of people, what I'm saying? Like after this shit, man, like when I'm 70 years old and like it, like say this thing is kind of like taking its own course and I'm just on the backside of it, I'm gonna have something else that I'm doing, like I'm never gonna be that guy that's like completely retired from it. I'm way too active for that, like I'm not gonna be able to ever just like do nothing, like
Yeah.
it's and I think I get that from my parents for sure, but like Demi's the same way, so like I mean, even if I wanted to do that, I wouldn't even have a choice because she'd be like, yeah, she fucking shoot my ass up for that.
No, that's awesome. I mean, it goes kind of like into that fighter mentality too, that, that dog that some people just have, right?
Yeah.
And some people just like, even, I mean, like COVID was a good example. If you're a person during COVID that you got to, basically take COVID off and just sit at home and do nothing,
Yeah.
and you're going to probably be a person that retires and wants to do nothing. Like
Dude.
other people during COVID were starting businesses and doing other things and, moving, and that can be a real telltale sign. But, before we wrap up, I know we did a similar one on the previous episode, but I want you to do your legacy wall, right? This is an updated legacy wall. So it's not a tombstone, right? That there was a misunderstanding that, you know, I told someone else and they were like, loving father. I was like, bro, you just wrote your tombstone. Like, no, I don't want that. Like, this is the legacy ball, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, under, you know, Jamey Kroesen, like, what is your one message that you would leave to either a up and coming fighter or to an up and coming entrepreneur, you know, whether it's personal development, you know, mindset, anything that you've learned along the way through your own journey, through what someone has told you, what would be your one message?
I think the biggest thing as far as like being able to make like a steady growth is like, for one, fucking put the ego aside, right? Like put the ego aside, test yourself, like be comfortable with not being good at something, right? And test that shit. Like surround yourself with people that are way fucking better than you, right? Like people that make you sit there and question yourself, like, should I even fucking be here, right? But then just fucking try to soak it up, you know, soak it up, because eventually one day you will be one of those people to another person, right? Because they were there at some point, you know? So just like, I think the biggest thing is, man, just like being able to put the ego aside and being able to test yourself every fucking day and put yourself in situations that are going to help you grow. And most of those situations that are going to help you grow are putting yourself around people that have done it and have been there. And a lot of those times, like if you have the ego, you're not going to be able to do it because it's going to fuck with your ego too much. It's going to fuck with your pride too much. You got to be able to be around those people and be a fucking sponge, right? Because they've been there. Nobody just you don't get to skip that line. There's no skipping that line to get to that point. You gotta fucking go through the shit to get there, right? So like being able to accept the fact that like, hey, these guys that intimidate me were here at some point, you know, but I'm gonna just put the ego aside and I'm gonna soak up as much as I can from these guys, and I'm just gonna trust the process and go forward, you know. So I think a lot of it is just putting that ego aside, man, and just living and learning, you know, and just sticking to the process, you know, sticking to the path, you know.
No, I agree 100%. That's awesome. Guys, make sure if you guys are listening to this episode that you do leave us that 5-star review, as well as share this with a friend. Jamey, thank you so much for coming on again today. And I know this is round 2. We threw it back, but, you know, like always, it's always a pleasure talking to you.
Likewise, my man. Hell yeah. Happy to be on, bro. Hell yes.
We'll definitely have you on, you know, in the future, looking to see how far, you know, you've grown in. I mean, even just in a year, we got a second location coming. We got, you know, the fight equipment and gear coming. You know, it's in another year. I can't wait to see where you're at. So thank you again for your time.
Yeah, dude, absolutely, man. Happy to be here, bro. You'll definitely see me again soon, man.
No negative vibes, only positive thoughts. Listen to